I'll concede your point just for brevity. But
What? Brevity? We don't do that around here. It's probably
No.
citrus, or what is a Capital One ball? It used to be Citrus Bowl, right?
oh my
Capital
God,
One.
dude, where have you been?
I just like the real name.
It hasn't been the Citrus Bowl since like what 2002?
What was your highlight side dish from Thanksgiving?
Oh gosh, Scotch.
This is the Buck Around, the podcast devoted to all things Wisconsin Badger football from a fan perspective. Featuring your hosts, Richard Branch and Maxwell Brusky.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Buck Around. Welcome back to episode 359 of the Buck Around. I am one half of the Buck Around, Richard Branch, and I am joined by my helpful colleague, Maxwell Brusky. Max, how are you today?
Oh, that's perfect for Bama week. I mean, I'm excited. You know, it's early in the morning still, and
I know.
take me a little bit to get going, but I'm pretty jacked up.
This is our new thing, our morning recordings. I kind of like
it is, and I think I like the format.
Well, it lets us start that we were fresh faced in
I like
the morning this
No,
way.
I like it.
So we're here. It is a Tuesday morning. The Badgers are 2-0, heading into Alabama week. Yeah, 42-10. I think convincing with a question mark win over Middle Tennessee State. I think for some people,
The last 15 minutes, certainly.
which we'll get into because it might extend past that, but we can get into that. No spoilers.
Yes.
But yeah, so why don't we just start talking about this game by leading it off with our friends on the talk around, and they can help us get into things.
Yeah, there were some folks with thoughts and feelings.
And both.
This is Ball Mate, long time, first time.
Hey, this is Tom on a train.
Rich, Max, you got Pancake Pete here.
This is John in DC. The only thing I want to say is that there's a little bit of hope from last year versus this year, in that the team appears to be able to make adjustments at halftime.
This is Lucas from Nashville. I have feelings, and I'm still trying to describe that game. On the one hand, that first half was infuriating. I just feel like every game since Luke Fickell's been the head coach has been kind of the same.
Great win yesterday. Good to see O'Neal channeling his inner fist.
I still think our defense is pretty good. I want to touch on really the only true takeaway from yesterday, week 2, and that is, of course, Lance freaking Mason. 7 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown from a Wisconsin tight end. Say that again. Let it sink in. The Lance Hive is alive. It is well. The momentum is real. Jump on the bandwagon. Tickets are not cheap, but they're selling fast. And everything changed on that fourth down. I have to give them credit. After that fourth down stop, Wisconsin, they just dominated, as they should have the entire game.
I still think we only win 3 games this year, one more for the rest of the year. But at least it looks like they're going to be able to make some efforts if the first half is a blowout every time.
On Wisconsin. On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Hell yeah.
I think people.
Lance
overall are
Hive is
happy.
alive.
Well, first off, I've been thinking about how to
I know
shape.
that got its own agenda items.
Yes, it did. Because I was thinking over the weekend how to shape a discussion of this game, and I had one thought. That's all I could come up with, which is called, we could have a section of the show called Things Rich is Wrong About. And why is it everything?
Is your wife going to join in?
Well, I mean, we don't have that much time.
I couldn't resist.
But yeah, Pancake Pete, who has been on the Lance Mason train, has to be a happy man today. And I have been trying to think about, well, how wrong am I about Lance Mason at this point? Watching him play, you know what's interesting is I kept confusing him. He and Steck, I can't remember whose number is which, so it's hard to keep straight.
It's 85 and 86.
Yeah.
Although I think Mason's a little bit taller.
And
I feel like
he's a little leaner.
Yeah, there's a
And
different body there
I keep
between the two of them. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I was laughing at myself because the first catch, I'm like, oh, look at Grant Stack getting into it. And then I go, oh wait, no, that's Mason. but
Well, it's funny. I don't not to detract too much, but for as much as Steck had, I don't know, it's kind of a breakout game the week before. I just because you hadn't seen him catch passes and be really involved. He was definitely involved, but he didn't catch a pass. I don't think, did he?
Steck, no.
Yeah, which was interesting. I will come back to that later in the context of a young wide receiver too. So
Oh, okay. But I have to say, if you wanted a Lance Mason coming out party, he gave you one. I guess
yeah, for sure.
maybe I'm still in the I'm not willing to get hurt because I've seen enough of these transfers. I don't know if I'm yet ready to say, oh yeah, this guy's going to be that piece. Like, I get it. I know he caught 7 balls. I know he had a touchdown. I know he went over 100. It's like the first 100-yard receiving game, I think, since like Fumagalli or something. I saw the date. I was guessing. I think it was like 2017. So I'm guessing
It was
Fumagalli.
Yeah, it was Fumagalli. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big day from a tight end.
It was, and he was out there. I'm trying to think of what it was more Owen Daniels-esque, just because he's very fluid and he's all over. And did you notice the one play where he did an end around as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
think because Lance Kendricks used to do that.
Yeah, he has a better stride that like Fumagalli was
Yeah,
much more
he
of
does.
the,
Yeah.
we used to call him the triangle, because he was such a
Yes.
big, broad guy.
Mhm.
I mean, he's more, especially, I mean, they list him at 250. I guess he's 250, but he moves faster than 250.
Yeah, he just looks like more of that pass catcher Evan Ingram type, and I don't think his blocking is like bad or anything like that, but he's all over the place and just is really fluid, and it's kind of cool to see. Yeah, I haven't seen anybody do that in a Badger uniform in a while. Not even Fumagalli or even Jake Ferguson, really.
Yeah, no. I would argue, honestly, I think he is not an issue blocking in the run game whatsoever. I mean, he played, I'm looking at the snap counts, outside of Danny O'Neal and the offensive line, he played the most snaps of anybody on offense.
Yeah,
he played 35 out of
surprised.
59 snaps. The next most snaps after him was Dylan Jones at 27. So,
Wow.
yeah, keep in mind, late in that game, they brought in a lot of bodies. So you saw some
That's
people
true.
come out of
That's
the
a good
woodwork
point.
towards the end. So that actually is significant to me that he played as many as he did. So yeah, they seem obviously confident and comfortable with him. I still don't know if he's going to be a force all year. I want to believe, Pete, but I do want to give you your moment. I want you to be happy. I don't want to take that away from you whatsoever. So happy Tuesday morning. Happy Lance Mason Day.
Well, this
if
side
I may.
of the buck around is rock on, Pete, because
You're in?
I liked it. I have no reservations. He looks
Okay.
great. No, I have no reservations
Yeah.
at all.
I guess for me, it's not so much a reservation about him in particular, but it sort of ties into a theme that we didn't really put anywhere on the agenda, but I do think it's worth talking about. I do feel like a lot of his success was an outgrowth of scheme.
Sure.
Because I think, here's what I will say. I feel like this is the first game in a long time, I mean, going back multiple years, where I felt like I can point a finger at an offensive coordinator seeing a struggle or seeing an issue and adjusting accordingly and having something in his pocket that he could use for them to succeed.
Yeah.
Because the way they started the game was not how they finished the game. And I don't just mean in terms of production, but I mean in terms of how they wanted to, go about running the offense. They were planning on, let's run the ball, little bubble screen here and there, a little play action here and there, maybe an RPO, but we are wides up. I mean, they really didn't run the ball. I mean, the second quarter, I think Danny O'Neal threw the ball 15 times. I think that's notable for, just when you're looking at this game, because Jeff Grimes realized kind of early on, oh man, Kerry Kadonko is not really going to cut it. And the center of the line was just getting demolished. And he found a way to work around it. It's very interesting. They had some RPO, but the other thing they have in there, and it's almost like a gray area and it makes it hard to figure out, they have these really fully committed play action passes, which are
Yeah.
like the whole line, like it's a full on wide zone tight end lead block or
Mhm.
full, or acre lead blocking. And you're like, wow, this is a run play, but then it's a really simple, like 1 or 2 route read off of it for the quarterback, which plays to Danny O'Neill's strengths, by the way, which we can get to in a little bit. Keep that simple and don't make him hang around there too long, because if you let a stray cat fester, let me just say, they can get self-destruct. I can
You
speak
would
from
know.
experience. I can know.
Yes.
But I really do think for Grimes, that was one of the more impressive, like, oh, wow, that guy just did something. Like he earned his pay in that game. I mean, I really do feel like the way they changed things up, starting really in the second quarter, because they didn't really get going in the second half. They just had a really dumb turnover at the end of the first quarter that kind of clouds your whole view of the thing, I personally think.
End of the first half.
Sorry, thank you. First half. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. All I could see was, damn, they can't run the ball. But I think one of the things that what you saw with whether it's adjustments, and to your point, it wasn't necessarily halftime adjustments either, was something that you haven't seen in quite a while. Longo never did that. In those last couple of years, even 2018 on, Chris never did either. You felt like,
Right.
Still I've got Braylon Allen, I've got Jonathan Taylor, and I have a reasonably good offensive line, but I have 2 really good running backs, and I can just keep doing the same thing. And whether or not Mertz and Jack Cohn ever got their strengths played to, they were never part of it. Whereas Grimes is just, it's not even that he's like willing to do so much. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about Longo and Ladder Christ, would they be willing to, to make changes? You know what I mean? But like, this is what Grimes does, right? And you talk about the running game. I mean, the end arounds are part of the running game too.
Yes.
Right. So there's that. And a
yeah.
lot of it reminded me of like what was it? 05, I think, was Christ's first year.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first part of Chris as an offensive coordinator, he'd do stuff like this. And there were a lot of end arounds, and there was a lot of spreading the ball around. And even when, there's still plenty of straightforward gap running, that that sort of stuff. But I think of like the 2007 season, and I always go back to that just in my head for some reason, where especially in the first game, you had a quarterback like Tyler Donovan, and Danny O'Neil is like the most mobile guy that they've had play a lot since. It's hard to say Russell Wilson, but like Tyler Donovan used to do a lot of that stuff and fix broken plays, put his head down, throw on the run. Again, setting aside Russell Wilson. But I remember that 2007 offense before, especially in the first game against Washington State, where it was just a matter of, they threw the ball so much. And this one goes to Beckham, this one goes to Luke Swan, this one goes to Paul Hubbard. And one of those 3 guys is open on every play. And I feel like that's what they're doing here. Like, Danny O'Neil is throwing those guys are open almost every time. He had a couple forced ones in game 1, and I think he had like maybe one that was like that, because I like that. You know what they're trying to do with that kind of stack with Tretch and Vinny Anthony, and it worked once, maybe twice, but then there were a couple times when it just got blown up. But other than that, Danny wasn't forcing the ball too much. So like, most of the guys that he was throwing to were open, and there was a lot of them where there was somebody that leaked out as well, that he had, where he had some place to dump it off, and it was a positive play. And a couple of those in the last 2 games have been even where it's been a Vinny Anthony or Tretch, where they can gain a lot of yards once they hit the ball in their hands. So I just think, we talked about it a little bit, and both of us had a chance to watch it, a second time, and it didn't look quite as bad, the whole arc. And I'm glad I wasn't like at the game, because I think I would have been really frustrated. I don't know if I'd have been yelling, because I still felt, even in the first half, there were some pretty nifty passing plays that they were able to do. I'm gonna detract a little bit from this. I can't figure out what the Billy Edwards thing was. Did he throw a pass in the game?
Billy Edwards? He didn't play. He didn't suit.
That's what I thought, but I checked the box score after the game, and I was watching on my phone, and I think it was the second play from scrimmage, and it said Billy Edwards completes a pass to Vinny Anthony for 11 yards. And then I
No.
checked the box score at the end of the game, and I'm like, so that didn't happen, okay? Right?
No.
We're good on that. We're clear on that?
No, by the way, just watching him walk around,
Yeah.
little aside, you got some time till you're going to see him. Just that
Yeah,
is
you think
very
so?
unscientific, just vibes.
Yep,
Like
yep.
when they'd show him, you're like, okay. And then Tucker Ashcraft is still on crutches and can't put weight on that foot. Like if he tries to put weight on the foot, he's limping. So
I think he's taking a red shirt year.
yeah.
Well, you know what? The way that it's looked, even Jackson McGowan caught a pass.
Yeah.
And made something happen with it. I for this season, I think if you get, at a certain point, it's just going to be smart to just redshirt Ashcraft anyway,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he hasn't had one yet.
Yeah.
So I think the way that things have been developing, at least in these first two games, I'm pretty okay with that. At least, and it's kind of funny when we're doing the previews and you think offensive line's going to be a relative strength and tight end's going to be a relative weakness. It's things that Rich was wrong about, right?
Yeah. So before we get to that, because that is something I want to talk about, the offensive line thing.
Just a segue.
But, the one thing I did want to mention that, other thing Rich was wrong about or maybe didn't expect on the Grimes thing, which you touched on.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about, especially with Christ and the end arounds and the jet sweeps and the way Grimes is using it, I will say, especially if you want to compare, say, late stage Christ to this,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like late stage Christ jet sweeps were really there just to try to keep, it's hard to put a finger on it, but the way I would describe it is it was there to try to keep a defense honest.
Sure.
Whereas I feel the way they are using them in this offense, and again, it's kind of hard to quantify exactly how I got here, but it actually just feels like a part of the offense. Do you know what I mean by that? It's not like, well, we need a guy to be the jet sweep guy. That was sort of the way Chris thought of it. I need a jet sweep guy so I can, try to stretch the box a little bit. So you open up some lanes for JT. Whereas in this, it's like they're kind of saying, well, look, I can have Tretch or Vinny Anthony or Terrell Henry. Like Terrell Henry looks like a better player this year. Aside from
I would agree with that too. Yeah.
letting punts drop, which are going to make me insane that he shouldn't be letting drop. He looks like a better player and more like, okay, this guy has a role in an offense. Like I get what they have with him. It means some of it, he just looks a little leaner and a little shiftier, but he also I feel like there's a role now and I get why you'd want him there. Like there's a reason to let him play. And I do feel like they are doing this offense just, even if it's not particularly better statistically at the end of the year, at least it's cohesive and it adapts a little bit and it's a little more like I get what they're trying to do. Even if it's not executing, I get what they're trying to do. And it's not simply, everybody runs an 8-yard curl and sits under the zone all day, which is what you saw a lot. They couldn't figure out anything else to do.
Right. Well, I'm going to go back to the jet sweeps thing too, and just compared to what Chris did, because I can't remember any that really stood out. There's probably some that I'm thinking about in 2018. I remember a couple of them in 2019, but in 2017, there were some big touchdowns, particularly a Michigan game that Kendrick Pryor scored.
Right.
Where they actually, that was an integral part of the game. It wasn't just a distract or a scheme shift, that sort of thing. It wasn't just like where it got to be that way. And do you remember any of them in like not 2020 necessarily, but in 2021 or 2022? Like I can barely, none of that crap, none of it stands out.
Well, I mean, I can barely remember what I did last week. So that's a tall order for me.
Sure enough. But those
I get your point.
Well, and the other thing about those end-around touchdowns too is that they're dramatic plays.
Right.
And you're talking about Terrell Henry. I would imagine you'll see him get one of those at some point. I mean, he is a punt returner. He's a returner. I don't think he's slow. Like I said, Mason had one.
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a bunch of guys that can do it. And to go off of what you said before too, like the jet sweep guy, where it was like Kendrick Pryor, I don't even remember who was it, AJ Taylor? I don't even remember him doing that. I don't remember anybody else doing that but Kendrick Pryor. back in those days.
I think Taylor did it once or twice.
Once or twice, but not all the
again,
time. Where there's like multiple guys doing that now.
yeah,
Oh, Hilton's done. Hilton, I think, did one last year, didn't he?
I don't believe so, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know he was in jet motion anyway.
Oh,
a
I mean,
couple
they
times last
definitely
week.
are presenting
Yeah.
that look.
Mhm.
Again, they're presenting that look, but it's I don't know how to quantify it or how to objectively compare and contrast. But in my mind, there is a difference, and I don't
Yeah.
know how else to put it.
Well,
But it just feels a little different, and it's not just because they're getting plays out of it. Like Tretch getting a 61-yard touchdown doesn't change my opinion of what that is. It's just different. You know, I mean, that play only works because they are so committed to that wide zone look, and they sell it and everybody chases it, and boom, it opens up the field in the same way. I mean, that's really what opened a lot of things for Lance Mason. Play actions that look like a wide zone. And so everybody's trying to get past the tight end because as soon as he goes in motion, it throws off the gaps. They kind of get washed in their assignments, and boom, off it goes.
Mhm.
And so, yes, it's just, again, I'm beating a dead horse there, but it's cohesive. Can we talk about more things that I'm wrong about?
Yeah, and I was going to say, so let's talk about the offensive line.
That's what I want to talk about.
Well, and if you're going to take away anything so far that's really on the negative side and on the minus side from these two games, we're going to talk about the defense a little bit, and we've already talked about some good offensive stuff, but I don't. It's definitely the most like negative thing out there right now, and it's unfortunate because it's just it's Wisconsin football, and like you said before, I think everybody thought it would be a relative strength going into the season, and it hasn't been yet. And I don't know if I'm not going to throw it all away, but it's not. It doesn't. There's a lot of work to do there. Put it that way.
It's got issues.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, just as a reality check, like Alabama's going to destroy Kadonko if Renfro isn't playing, which is what it looks like.
I'll be interested to see about that, but yes. If
Bickle
Renfro doesn't play, yes.
I have no
That's gonna be a
information
problem.
on Renfro, is what he said, which means he's not playing.
Yeah.
When he has no information, it means he has nothing positive to share.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
That's all that means.
Yes.
If he thought he'd play, he'd be like, well, I think there's a chance he might play. But when he has no information, he's not. I mean, I can be wrong. I mean, as the show is basically about me being wrong. But yeah, he's not playing. And Kadonko, they have a real problem. And this is the other, like, as I was saying, things Rich is wrong about. I had been convinced for the past 6 months. What did I say? What did I say to you? Like, hey, the way they're recruiting offensive line makes sense. This group has some depth to it. It looks cohesive, blah, 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 blah. And then it is none of those things. It has no depth, right? I mean, a couple injuries and it's off the friggin' rails. I mean, really, Kevin Haywood's injury took it off. I mean, like off the rails. It really starts there. Even without Haywood, you're dealing with moving a multi-year starter across the line. I mean, you just watched a team in the second week start 4 new guys at different spots.
I know.
That's not a good sign. And it's
No.
like, what were we wrong about? And like, why? Like, I'm like, what? Well, not we, me. Why was I so wrong? And the thing I'm realizing, their issue is their upper class is, this is mean. I don't mean it to sound mean, but their upperclassmen are dead weight. Outside of Brunner, Ballman, and Renfro, right? You have those 3 who slot them in. They're all functioning, right? Or better.
Yeah.
But you have JP Benchwall, who is a non-factor, who played 3 snaps at the very, very end of things. Highly rated recruit, by the way. Total non-factor.
Borderline 5-star, if I recall.
Has never contributed in any real way. I mean, he played after I think they put him at guard. So he's getting now swapped in.
It's right guard, yeah.
Yeah. So since Mandela is moving out, he's moving in.
No. I take that back. It was not. It was left guard because he took Brunner's spot. Yes, he took Brunner's spot because I like the fact when I remember seeing that, and because he and Heinsohn was in at left tackle.
Yeah, they took those 2 out.
And then
early.
I saw, and I was like, oh, good, you left Coverly and Mandel in there. I like.
Yes. So
Which is to say, you get Haywood back, and as long as you can get, I guess Ryan Corey or somebody else that can snap the ball, I think they'll be in pretty good shape for next year.
down the line. Yeah. No, they're
Yeah.
set. I really do think they've recruited it fine for like 2026 and 7.
Yes.
The
Yes.
problem is it's 2025. And not only you have Benchwall, Barrett Nelson has never been healthy. Whatever,
Yeah.
can't do anything about that. Then it's, you look back at Leighton Nelson is in that same mix. I don't really get what was the point of the addition there, because maybe it was the injury last year that set him back, but he is not a
probably.
factor at this point. Joey Okla, right? We all forget he is, I guess,
MIA,
he's a practice squad body, right?
Yeah.
When you see him
Scout
flashed
team.
on on the sidelines, he is very far back. He's back with the true freshman type of thing. And so that's why we're wrong, or why I was wrong, is because all of these upperclassmen are not able to, they are in the same tranche as the redshirt freshmen trying to figure it out. And so the coaches are left with, okay, do you play the young guy who will eventually be good, but maybe you shatter his confidence, or this guy who's not a Big Ten player? And it's totally fine to blame if you want to get mad. Because they're going to I just think they're going to get demolished this week. I don't think the line, they're in for a rude awakening. I really do think.
I don't think it's a rude awakening. I think they know what they've got. I don't think it's a rude awakening.
Not for the
I'll just be interested to see how they work around it. And there's teams with mediocre offensive lines, and I don't know. I think this one it's mediocre. I don't know. It's not catastrophically bad. At least I'm saying that now. I might be singing a different tune come Monday morning or come Sunday morning. But there's you can still have success with a mediocre offensive line. I just want to see how they work around it, because they know what they have. They know the deal. These guys they've been around. So I'm waiting to see it, but I'm going to make your eyes roll, and I'm going to break people's hearts, because if you think you'd be playing center right now, who just played on a national championship team, Carson Hinsman, who they lost. I get it. They lost him to Ohio State. Fine. And then, who one of the other guards would be who played on the other side of the national championship was Billy Schroff. So, this would have been like a 2010, 2011 kind of line with like 3 NFL guys, or 4 if Haywood gets there eventually. It's just but when I thought of that, I every time I see Ohio State Notre Dame play, I think of that. But it's that upper class, and that's the latter. That's also the latter part of the the end of the Christ recruiting cycles too. And but Benchball was not, he's highly rated recruit, but Nolan Rucci would, he transferred, and then there's, I think Trey Wedding is, he would have exhausted his eligibility by now, but I don't know that those guys, at least as Badgers, were any great shakes. I think Rucci does start for Penn State, I think, but that upper class is it's not that good.
It's just
except for Brunner and Melman, which are, those guys are like Badger linemen. Those guys are where they needed to be.
No, no doubt, but it's just that I just mean the makeup of their roster there. Like you have these guys who are not giving you anything, and it's just a very strange spot to be, where you have all of these bodies that are kind of forgotten, but they're still around. Like, I guess the proposition was you weren't going to get anything better in the portal. And that's, you were going to get Davis Heinzen, unless you were if you were going to get a starting guy. You're not going to get a starting guy, but
no, unless you're paying Ole Miss kind of money.
Yeah. So they're in a really, really, really funny spot. And by the way, Nolan Rucci is starting for Penn State.
Yeah. No, I knew that. No, I know. I think he did last year too, to be honest.
So enough on them. I think the issue is, can they get through it? Like, can they get to the 2026-2027 season with this offensive line?
Well, and like I said, I'll be interested to see how they work around that. And I
Mhm.
think if they are able to work around that, out of the teams they're going to play, they're going to play a lot of really good run defenses too,
Mhm.
just coming up. And I think that's part of it. They don't have a Northwestern or Purdue or UCLA on the schedule, which makes it a little bit tougher.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of a bummer because I think they have 3 real nice backs.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy if you look. Do you know who the leading rusher on the team is?
Is it Danny O'Neal?
No. That wasn't the trick question. The leading rusher on the team is Dylan Jones.
Yeah.
He has 109 yards on 4.54 per carry, which is basically what they had last year. Yeah, Tui Walker was 4.55. Do you know
And
who
I was
this?
going to say 4.5 isn't awful,
It's not that
but
good.
it's not. Yeah, it's mediocre.
Yeah, you need to be north of 5, I feel like, in college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
But do you know who the second leading rusher on the team is? That was the trick question.
Danny O'Neal.
No.
No, you know why? Because he's got all the sack yards.
Yeah.
And there was another really bad one.
Yeah.
This game too.
It's
Um,
Tretch
Oh yeah.
with
Well,
68 yards rushing.
yeah. He
61
banged
on
out a
one
61
play.
yarder. Yeah. So, yeah.
So yeah, they're not getting much consistency out of the run game.
Oh,
yet.
by the way, the 61 yarder touchdown, it was the longest run since the opener of 2023 against Buffalo with Ches Malusi.
Oh, good to know. I mean,
oh, it shows you like there used to be home runs hit on a regular basis
yeah.
by this running game, and it just kind of says wow. But there has been a home run that's been hit, and the jet sweeps and the end arounds are part of the running game, so I'm taking that.
All right. So now that we've talked about everything Rich was wrong about, I want to talk about one thing I was right about, which is feline comparisons.
Okay. Yes. Oh man, you had a good run.
My boy Danny O'Neal.
The earlier part of the week.
I'm gonna need to start taking more pictures of my cat because that's what I've just decided to do. Is just post cat. That's the new Buck Around social media accounts will be cat pictures. Just every time Danny O'Neal does something well, I'm just gonna post cat pictures on it. But yeah, so I think it was Tom on the train gave a shout out to Fitzgerald. Thank you for that, Tom. He did have a Fitzgerald-esque
channeling
game.
his inner Fitz.
Yes, and so my cat approved of his performance. He watched him on the rewatch with me last night and he looked at me and gave me a one-eyed nod. But Danny O'Neal, I have to say, well, the only thing I'm going to say, just pump the brakes because, I mean, Danny O'Neal still does, like, to Jeff Grimes' credit, they did some things that are good for Danny O'Neal. They kept the reads kind of one ready and simple. There's a lot of, like, 2-route pass structures off of play action, which worked very well. But then when he has more time to throw, like he had that one play action where he's just sitting, it's that rollout, and he's just sitting there and he's like, you know what? I'm throwing into double coverage to Cade Giacomelli on the wheel route. YOLO.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There were still a couple of those in
Yes.
there, and they're more like gunslinger type plays.
Yes,
they're
they
not.
are.
You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna force. No, it's like no, I can do that.
He's like, I
can
care.
do that. I can do that. I can do that.
Yes, exactly. I got this. I got that. I totally got it. I mean, look, you saw it go to Grant Steck in week 1 because that one was like, no. Yes.
And
this one was no. Oh, thank goodness. Or the out route, the
Tretch one. Yeah, the Tretch one this week. Whoa.
Can't do that against Alabama, but he showed you what he can be. Like he's here's the thing. You always go like, why can't the Badgers get quarterbacks? You know, because I look at all these teams.
I know. I said that last year. Like you watch a game with like Pitt.
Yeah.
That dude's just balling. Like what the hell?
Like they're functional. This, you know what it is? You can't, I don't know how you identify this in a guy. Cause it's just he's mobile enough. He's not an ideal size. Don't tell me he's 6 feet tall. I can't. Okay, fine. You can tell me he's 6 feet tall. Sure.
People used to say Drew Brees is 6 feet tall.
And whatever, you can tell me whatever height you want to say he is. So he's not an ideal size. He's not super mobile. He's got a reasonable arm, but not like an amazing arm. But he just knows how to use the whole package, that the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And he gave you that in that game.
He's a ball player.
He's a ball player.
He's a ball player.
And I just don't know how well, my caution going into the Bama game is how well they can utilize that. Keep him to the simple reads without them, just as the talent level kicks up. because that's a challenge for the week for them. I have no idea how they do it. I'll be curious to see what they try.
Well, if you go back and look too, what Florida State was able to do with, it was a lot of Gus Malzahn stuff, as the OC. Florida State probably has, I shouldn't say probably, I mean, and they have a better offensive line. But I don't know how, like, if their offensive line is like, it's not like stacked with All-Americans and, you know what I mean? I think there was one guy that's like that for Florida State. I don't remember if he's a guard or a tackle, but I think there's one guy like that. But, fine. We got Joe Brunner. Fine. Okay. And if you just looked what they did, and, if Danny O'Neal can be 90% of what Tommy Castellanos was that first week, like Bama was flummoxed all over the freaking place.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're going to play as soft as they did. I mean, because that was really a lot of that game was they were just not, it's not what you think of, Alabama, Saban, Bear Bryant kind of, they just didn't play like that. But a lot of the stuff they did from a scheme perspective, I think Wisconsin can do a lot of that. It'll just be up to, what kind of, how many of those plays are going to get blown up through the middle, how many bad snaps the center's going to have.
Right.
Stuff like that that you didn't see, but a lot of it scheme wise. I mean, do you think that Tommy Castellanos is like that much faster than Danny O'Neal? I don't know.
I do. I think athletically he's significant.
Significantly?
Yes. I think he has an agility and a little bit more acceleration. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll grant you that. And I'm not going to say they're the same guy. No, I'll grant you that. But I mean, some dude who transferred from Boston College.
But
okay.
I understand what you're coming from. Where you're coming from.
Yeah. There's a template there.
Right.
And as far as like, offensive mega brains, like I think that Jeff Grimes is right there with Gus.
Is he?
Sure.
Okay. I don't
Absolutely.
I don't have a strong opinion about it, but look, all I know is he did something I guess the way I look at it is I feel like in this game, this Middle Tennessee game, I saw the impact an offensive coordinator can have on a team that isn't clicking. But
yes.
It also, a major function of that was a talent gap between the teams playing. I don't know that I don't know that he could make the same adjustments against a good team and then good things happen, I guess is the way I'm putting it. Like, I think it also, for me, in a weird way, is a lesson about the limitations of what an offensive coordinator can do. Does that make sense? Like,
it does.
Because that was sort of like my takeaway there was it's sort of like a double-edged sword.
Well,
like, an OC can adapt, but also, like there's only so much an OC can adapt if you can't execute that kind of stuff.
Right. But let's talk about the talent gap though. If you like this set of offensive ball carrying players that Wisconsin has now, I think is among the best that they've had in a while. And there's guys that can do stuff with the ball in their hands that you're not looking at a barren landscape there. Like there's dudes that can do stuff with the ball in their hands. And I think that I wonder, I was going to talk about it later. There were guys like Steck and Hilton that didn't play or didn't really feature that much. I wonder how much you'll see them against Alabama and going forward in the season. Cause I think Hilton's got a skill set too. I still think he's the best of that bunch. Certainly has the most potential. So I just talent gap. Yeah. I when I look at it, I just don't see, they're not bereft of talent. I think they've got guys. I think they've got guys.
I guess my only pushback would be that I don't know that the top end of the talent's any better. I just think it's a little deeper, but I don't know if that makes a difference.
No, I disagree. I think the top end of the talent is better. And I think that a guy like Vinny Anthony Trutch and Eugene Hilton are, and Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree, I think those are green grass athletes. I think those are freaking green grass athletes that, once you get them in the open, if they get the ball in the open field, they can do stuff with it, no matter who they're playing against.
Okay.
What did you say this morning? I was my hopeful colleague.
Yes, you are hopeful.
Yeah. But I'm not good at, there's guys, this is really my point. Nobody knows what's going to happen once the schedule gets real, but I'm not going in there saying, oh my God, it's a 3 touchdown underdog. Like, I think that's BS.
Okay.
And I'm not a gambling man because I don't like throwing away money like that because Max is wrong whenever it comes to gambling. Like, you're wrong about this other stuff. But there is at least one person that I know personally who I will stake $100 on the Badgers covering.
Okay.
I just can't do that with like whoever on the show wants to take that. I can't. I don't have that kind of money.
We're gonna get a sports bet sponsor the way you're talking.
Oh God, no.
Before we leave the
No.
game, because we sort of started to drift off the game anyways, did you want to touch on anything on the defense? The only thing I had,
I think there's some meat on the bone there. Yeah.
Was two
Yeah.
things. I didn't get too freaked out about the chunk plays that Middle Tennessee was able to get. Specifically, I mean, if you want to get on the Hill one and the Latimer one, yeah. I mean, I think it's notable that Agard really picked up a lot of snaps after that play and
Yes,
accorded himself
including
well.
an interception.
And a really nice interception. I mean, that was a very mature play.
Yes.
But
that was a ball playing interception.
But the one thing that I did notice overall, if I was just sort of like wrapping it, like the Hallman pick, the Hallman big play was kind of weird just because he just didn't track the ball. Like he did everything right. As soon as the receiver looked up, he looked up. He just never picked up the ball for whatever reason. I'm not taking a lot from that because he then on the ensuing, series of downs has a really nice defensive play against the same receiver where he times that push perfectly because that's a touchdown. If he doesn't put his hands on that guy right as the ball hits his hands, and otherwise a quarter second earlier, it's a pass interference. I mean, it was just an exceptional play. Yep. So it's just like, okay, that's going to happen eventually because he is a technical corner. He is not an athlete and size corner. And he did a very technical thing right there. And it was very impressive. The only other thing I noticed on defense, the rotations tightened up. They definitely okay, it's Rieger and Cheeks or Reiger. What did we decide? I can't even. I should know the guy's name now.
I've settled into Reiger.
Reiger. We'll go with Reiger.
Yeah, I've settled into Reiger. Yep.
But those are their guys. It's pretty clear field boundary.
That's what they should be.
Guys,
Reiger's awesome. Look, he's awesome.
Everybody's loving Reiger. I'm going to say, honestly, I take more from Cheeks. Like, I think Sebastian Cheeks is just a really dynamic player because they can also drop him. He's much more comfortable drop than Reiger. I mean, Reiger is I think he's the boundary side, right? I can't even remember. Yeah, I think he's the boundary guy. And he is really kind of like that's his deal, but Cheeks can drop. And Cheeks had a really nice chase down the running back on I can't remember if it was a zone read or if it was a little dump off flat, but you're like, oh, wow, he's got plenty of lateral speed there. But other than that, those two are your AB. Defensive line, still rotational, but you're kind of starting to see. The one that I'm kind of interested to see is how long Ben Barton keeps holding on. Because I'm going to be honest, I feel like he's getting, which in a good way, like he feels like a guy that maybe starts to become the second tranche of rotational guys.
Sure.
Depending, because I feel like Suggs and Stephen Lane are kind of, Brandon Lane. Stephen Lane's a different guy. Brandon Lane.
I don't know who Stephen Lane is, but I thought you said Stephen Lang.
No, he's an actor. But,
good actor. Very good actor.
But I feel like those two are kind of in their own tier, and will be interesting to see what happens there. But other than that, anything you wanted to touch on the defense? Because that's all I got.
Yeah. I was just going to say something about the cornerback situation. There was a lot of, I can see why you'd say something because the ones where they got burnt were good catches too. Especially the one against Hill. I mean, that was a number one wide receiver type of catch.
So. He also got burned. I mean, he got burned at the line.
He did. Yeah, he did. He did. And we'll see what happens. I wonder if I don't even know how much it matters just because Alabama's so stacked at the position is whether Ryan Williams is going to play.
Yeah,
that's a notable one, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't play him if he's still got issues. I haven't followed up on the Twitters or anything like that. But that'd be interesting if he doesn't play.
I mean, it would help the Badgers. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, it would. Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if it's a situation where, they're looking at it. Well, we're going to win anyway. Like, let's just save them for real games.
I don't think they're approaching this game that way at all.
I don't think they are either. At least not outwardly.
I don't
But
think inwardly either. I really don't.
yeah, I would be shocked if they did. And remember they played them pretty tight, right up until right up until that 3-play drive last year.
Mhm.
Halftime. I mean, that wasn't, which is to say, going into this game, I'm excited to see, and I'm not backing off out of like a 1 of 5 chance. Maybe I felt a lot better about it after watching them against Florida State, especially seeing the way they lost from a playmaking and a scheme perspective, not
Mhm.
the fact that they were soft and they played decadently or appeared to play that way.
Okay.
But it's just the stuff that Florida State did on both sides of the ball. I felt like is stuff that Wisconsin can do 85 to 90% of. And if they're not, you know what we didn't talk about, which is something that's everybody's overlooked. And if you're a frustrated fan, this was the first penalty-free game that they've played on both sides of the ball since 2016.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't know that.
Well, and you know what else too is how many penalties did they have against Miami?
Not a lot.
All right, it's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
That's something to point out, right? You couldn't say that last 2 years. And how many
Yeah.
drive killing false starts or whatever the or holdings or whatever whatever it is. I think you'll probably see a couple more false starts this this week and some offensive holding. Just given the opponent and the venue. But I think that's noteworthy.
No, I do. Actually, that's a fair point. I mean, I think it also
Yeah.
just points to when do you get a lot of penalties? It's when you're trying to catch up to a guy.
And in fact, Rich, I'm going to give you a transition. Can I take that as my under the radar player of the game?
100%, because mine's a
Okay.
little weird too.
Okay, good. Yeah.
All right,
That's what I'm going with, because nobody has talked about that. And it seems like a total afterthought, which that's the mark of good coaching, is it not? Like, oh,
Yeah.
Pickle sucks. Dude, we just had the first penalty-free game in almost 10 years.
I'll allow it. I think it's guys are in the right spot and know what they're supposed to be doing. I think that's what that tells you, right? Because
Definitely.
nobody's playing catch up. Fair point. I didn't think about that. That's a good one, Max. My under the radar player of the game is equally as
Out of the
unique.
box.
Yes, a little out of the box. Nathaniel Vakos had. Do you know how many kickoffs he had?
Well,
I was about
or
to
how
say
many
the
times
number.
they scored, and including the opener, or not the opener, the opener of the second half. So it's 6 or 7, right?
It's 7. He
Yeah.
had 7 characters. You know how many touchdowns?
Every one of them was a damn touchback.
Yeah. So I will give him the under the radar player of the game because I think he deserves it because he seems to have that under control. Well, he hasn't really had much in the way of, the necessity to kick field goals yet, which is where he's kind of like, oh, we know what he is there. He's going to look amazing, and then you're going to scratch your head. But the fact that he seems to have stabilized that kickoff role so that it is kind of assuming Lam is buying into the whole red shirt thing and is on board with it. It seems like they've kind of sorted out. The only sort of yellow flag I will wave is the trajectory on those kicks is very much a line drive. So he doesn't have a lot of hang on those. So if they get into a game with some wind, I get a little nervous. You know what? He did his job this past weekend, and there was a little bit of breeze, I believe, but nothing crazy. And he punched the ball in the end zone every time. So under the radar player of the game for me, just because of the role he's been asked to play, that it was definitely, when he came in 2 years ago, that was not the plan. So good on him.
Good on him. And he has never missed an extra point. There's that. And then I remember last year, I think it was the Badgers opening drive against Alabama. Wasn't that like a 54 or 55 yarder that he made? It was
Maybe.
a long one. Yeah, it was a long one on the opening drive before Tyler Van Dyke got hurt. But at one point, the game last year in Madison, it was 3-0 Wisconsin.
Just touching big games in the B1G briefly. We already talked about looking ahead to the Bama game. I think we've done enough on that. Anything else you wanted to touch on in terms of conference games? Anything else you took away? Yada, yada, yada.
Sure. I think I'll be interested to see how they do against Maryland. I don't know how good Maryland's defense is, and that offense is really nothing outside of Malik Washington, who's really good. But I don't know how much they have. That's and I think everybody's got that on the calendar. Even John from DC is like, I think they're only going to win 3 games. The person who I will take the $100 bet for the Badgers to cover 3 touchdowns against Alabama. I also bet him $100 because he's like 3-win team in the first half. 3-win team. It's like, okay, negative Nelly. So I also bet him $100 because I'm like, all right, fine, 4 wins or more. And then he kind of backed off and said 4.5 under. And I'm like, fine, 4.5 under is $100. So I would say though that Maryland has the that's the one. If they're gonna win one more game, like that's the one everybody has circled, right?
Right.
So I don't know what, and because I got to watch them against Northern Illinois last Friday night, and Northern gave them a pretty good game. They didn't channel 2003, which I'm going to segue again into what Northern Illinois did in 2003 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, by upsetting the Tide, then going on to upset Maryland in College Park. So there's a lot of nice connections there, but there's that one, and I don't think Michigan's that good. They got some dudes, so run defense and quarterback, but I mean I don't think Michigan looked really, really good. I know it's on the road against rejuvenated Oklahoma and Brent Venables defense, but you take away that home run from former Tide running back Justice Haynes, and Michigan didn't have a heck of a lot going. So but those are the next 2 games, right? That we're looking at.
Yep.
And is Iowa very good? I know my son is, of course, like ready to. He's like, they need to get rid of Kirk. And I'm like, dude, they didn't lose that game because of Kirk. Okay. But, I don't think Iowa looks that good either.
So wait, it was Kirk Ferentz is the greatest. Now he's ready to fire Kirk Ferentz. He's the greatest 20-something
ever. Did he say that? Maybe he had a couple beers.
Last year, I feel like you said he was a big fan of Kirk.
Well, maybe I talked him out of it. He's a mercurial college student, and he's also a White Sox fan. So he's been through a lot.
Yes. A little bit of a whipsaw. Right?
Yes, a little bit of a whipsaw, and he's not unlike his father, a little prone to dramatics.
You are,
but I don't think Iowa looks that good either. And Gronowski has certainly not been what they had hoped and thought and projected him to be.
So maybe some wins out there to be had.
I just you kind of know that's going to happen, but it doesn't look quite as daunting.
Okay,
and then there's of course the Tide. We'll see what happens this weekend. But
we'll see.
All I know is I'm excited, and if anybody let me know. I know there's many of the friends of the show will be in Tuscaloosa, and hopefully we can get together. But how can you not be looking forward to that, right?
Yeah. So I guess to wrap, just a couple housekeeping things I did want to mention. Don't forget, we have a nice little tour of Tuscaloosa on our Patreon for Patreon members. If you haven't read it yet, go take a look. It's up there. We had that kindly submitted to us a little while ago, if you don't forget. And then the last thing, some days it's harder for me to be on social media. For some reason, I had no internet for half the game this past weekend, which was kind of annoying. So I could not put out a little reminder, but don't forget 34777 Bucky. Thanks to all of you who did call in. If I don't post it, it doesn't mean don't do it. So please do it. Let us know your thoughts. It gives the energy to the show. It helps us set an agenda. It really, truly does. So
most definitely.
If you can take the time to give it a call and scream at us, or
no, just vent.
Yeah, vent. And I promise, otherwise, I'll get some more pictures of Fitz this week, so we have better photos for social media when he does something good or terrible. So I think on that note, Max, until the next time.
Until the next time.
All right,
see you in Tuscaloosa.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the conversation? Head on over to buckaroundpodcast.com to find all the ways to connect with the show, links to our Patreon page, and feeds for every major podcasting platform. We want to thank each and every one of our patrons. You make this podcast possible. This has been The Buck Around, Badger football analysis from a fan perspective.